Good evening. Welcome to a special edition of the Queen's Grapevine. This is your host, Wallingford Lee. Today on the Queen's Grapevine, we're going to talk about the importance of Memorial Day, that celebration that we continue to do here in America. It's a great celebration, and it's important to understand why we celebrate Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a celebration where we give thanks to all those great soldiers who gave their life to protect us and give us the liberty that today that we enjoy in this great country. And we also pray, as we talk about Memorial Day, that this type of peace continue worldwide. America has been very great in terms of protecting so many different countries, and sometimes we don't give the honor and notoriety to the veterans that they really truly deserve. And as such, we wanted to take the opportunity today to talk on the Queen's Grapevine, the importance of Memorial Day, the importance of those who have given their life for this nation and for peace in a whole. We have taken the opportunity to have a special guest, a great friend of mine, who also happens to be a veteran. I'm talking about John. John, welcome to our program. It's great to have you as a guest, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that we wanted to talk to you, Mr. Murphy, is that we know for a fact that you're a veteran, that you served proudly in the Army. What is in your interpretation? What does Memorial Day mean to you?
Oh, Memorial Day to me is a time to recognize all those who gave their life in war. Even for me personally, it goes all the way back to the Revolution. Anybody that's been gone to war and lost their lives were cut short, and all the opportunities that we have as a country, as a people, as individuals, have been cut short by those who gave their lives to keep our country and other countries and other societies free.
I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. The importance of knowing the role that those who went to war to protect freedom and liberty that we enjoy today. And sometimes it bothers me because I feel that the Memorial Day has gotten a little bit more commercialized, and I don't know if the youngsters of today understand the importance. Do you think young America today understand the importance of Memorial Day?
Some young Americans really do, because from personal involvement with their families or friends, that if somebody's in the service or is connected or has a history of being like personally connected, they have a higher level of consciousness of what the meaning of Memorial Weekend and Memorial Day is. But then other people that are not as in tuned or doesn't have the firsthand experience, they're not getting it in the education today. The patriotism and the meaning of sacrifice has been like kind of lost in the humanities of our education. And I think educational awareness in the curriculum should be considered strongly, in my opinion.
I happen to once again agree with you. The curriculum should be part of it in our school system, talking about why we went to war, why we defended what we defended, and why we took a stand at that time in World War II to do what we had to do for freedom and for liberty, which again all of us enjoyed. We do, we go, we say whatever we please. But sometimes I kind of wonder if our youngsters of today have the knowledge and the understanding that, and you mentioned the word education, which I think is extremely important in the curriculum to bring them to that understanding. I'm sure some schools or most schools does it, but I don't know if it's getting there. How do you feel about the current celebration that takes place in terms of Memorial Day?
We have celebrations around the country. A lot of it happens in small towns and in some cities where they actually have a Memorial Day parade. It's also like where you'll get veterans organizations that sometimes get children involved with going out to the cemeteries and putting flags on, veterans' graves. But as far as it's all individually based level of awareness. For me, the level of awareness is so intense because of my personal involvement And for me, Memorial Day is probably almost every day when I'm reminded personally or something triggers a memory about somebody that I remember being killed. But I don't expect that from everybody, but just acknowledging and being aware that freedom is not free. It comes at a very grave price to people and to the society in a way of like human life being taken, in a way of resources. All kinds of catastrophes happen from war. We're still paying for some wars right now that we won't pay for the next 10 to 15 years. Wars are not cheap, and it comes at a high price and paid for with blood and money. It's terrible, actually.
Well, the key component is what you said, that we're still paying for the war. We pay for the war in so many different ways, not only monetary. We pay for it with life. We pay for it with blood. We pay for it for the after effects of veterans who come back home from the war and they're never the same. I repeat, they're never the same. Some of them go through a total amount of physical changes, emotional changes, which might be difficult for you or me to understand because we haven't been on the battlefield. But these men and women that went to the battlefield to stand up for America and to do their job, when they come back, we should respect them, we should honor them, and we should do everything possible. Even in the job market today, in certain instances, veterans have a hard time finding jobs, and it's not fair. I think that we should recognize them, we should honor them, we should give them the respect that they truly deserve. When we talk about veterans coming home, what are some of the things, in your opinion, that they're experiencing?
Well, like as you just pointed out, when a person does go to war, and if they're a combatant, they'll never be the same. It's a life-changing experience that it changes your life because of what happened. And a lot of people don't realize that when even people that come home that are untouched, but they have emotional scars, it's called PTSD. You think about it like all the time. It's something that'll never go away. Also, you have the wounded warriors that have lost limbs. They have to learn how to start a new life because some of them actually lose arms and legs. They can't even operate in their own homes. They actually have to be placed into adaptive housing so that they could survive. And the emotional and physical scars, they get up every day and they have aches and pains that are going to be with them for the rest of their life. Just due to the fact of their injuries. Like they don't even have to think about the war. As soon as
It's
they
right
move
there with them.
Yeah, they move their body and they're in pain, from it. And everybody just we all have a tendency after it's all over, just move on. But there are some people that not due to their own fault, but they can't move on. They're in this, and they need assistance, understanding, and total care from us as a society, like through the Veterans Administration, through governments, through charitable organizations. Wounded Warriors, they want like $20 a month. Instead of writing out a check for $20 a month, I just paid them my $250 and got it over with for the year. I believe in doing this kind of stuff, even though I'm a wounded vet and I'm taken care of by the VA.
Well, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to know your contribution, not only as a soldier, but that you also contribute monetary to those in need. How else do you think that we can honor these veterans? Because it's a full-fledged that they need help. And I'm not talking so much about psychologically, because when you go to the battlefield, the bombs, the shooting, the grenades, the after effect, how you come back home and stuff like that. How else can we honor them? What else you think it was necessary for Congress, for the government to do to help them?
You always have to, after any war, you have to really do study what conditions the different warriors were placed in and the environments that they were placed in. and care for them. Because sometimes you go to places where there are diseases so severe that the average person doesn't even know that once they've gotten malaria, let's say, it stays with you for the rest of your life. You have like fevers, and sometimes it actually even cuts a person's life span short. But just acknowledging that when you place people in a dangerous environment, it's also, war is like not only the bullets, it's just the day-to-day living, the exposure to things that we don't even like comprehend here in America, because you don't have plagues, and tuberculosis and diphtheria and all these other places. You go to third world countries, we get more casualties from the environment than from, let's say, bullets sometimes. It depends. But it's got to be awareness, and you can't like not acknowledge and you got to accept the responsibility as a government that once you place people in harm's way, that you own the problem and you can't pretend that it doesn't exist.
And there's a
That's happened.
consequence to it.
And that has happened.
The reality of the matter is, to back up what Mr. Murphy is talking about, and rightfully so, he's talking about things that you're exposed as a soldier when you go out on the battlefield, chemical reactions, things that are used in the battlefield, when you walk into certain territories, whether to attack, or in some cases you've been attacked, or to take a station because your commanders tell you have to take a territory. You don't know what you're walking into. You could be walking into places that are full of infection, chemicals and stuff like that, and the after effect in your body and in your as a person, it doesn't attack you right away, but years after, you have all different type of sickness, feelings, and what have you. And it is a responsibility of the government who sends you out there. When we get back in the Queen's Grapevine, we're going to continue talking to Mr. John Murphy about Memorial Day, the importance of it, and more importantly, how do we treat our soldiers when they come back home, and what are our responsibilities, us as a nation and as a public, to those who have given their life and who went out on the battlefield so that we could enjoy the freedom and peace and tranquility that we have today. We'll be right back on the Grapevine as we continue talking about this sensitive matter about Memorial Day.
These are not easy times for our country, for the world, and certainly these are not easy times to be part of our armed forces.
Memorial Day is a uniquely American day. It is the one day of the year we set aside completely to remember, to honor, and thank those who give so much and have given so much for this country. Memorials are not built to honor war. They are built to remember great causes and great actions and the people who helped shape the world for the better. I would like to thank the men and women who serve this country, their families. I especially want to thank their families for their tremendous sacrifices and what they give. And I appreciate that. We all do.
I took the oath of office to become the 24th Secretary of Defense. It's a great honor. It's a privilege. To be part of your team, who you are, is the honor. That's the great privilege. I'm proud of my background. I'm proud of my career, like you all are. But nothing makes me prouder than my association with the military and the veterans.
Our country will never forget those who fell in battle and those who have yet to return home. Their dedication and selfless service resonates deeply across the country, and their legacy is carried forward proudly by those who wear our nation's uniform today. Thank you for your service, and God bless you and your families.
And we're back here in the Queen's Grapevine, of course, talking about Memorial Day, those that went out to war and never came back, and how we honor them. More importantly, not only we honor them, do we forget them? Do we understand the sacrifice made by them, all those men and women who served over a period of time, whether it was the Vietnam War, World War II, the Afghanistan War, and the other warism that continue to have, that continue to fester and go on, the loss of life, and the impact that it has on us as a nation. There's a song that came out in the 70s by Edwin Starr by the name War. What is it good for? Part of the lyrics says nothing, but sometimes we're forced to go into war because our freedom are threatened by other nations. We're forced to go into war sometimes not because we call it war. There are action taken against us. And as such, as a nation that we are, there are people that doesn't like what America is all about, doesn't like the freedom that we have, doesn't like the capitalism that we have, doesn't like the good life that we have. And as such, there are people who always try to attack us in more ways than one. Those of you that have a great memory will remember what happened September 11, where we were attacked. Innocent people were attacked and killed for no reason. So as such, war might not be good, but we have to do what we have to do when we have to do what we have to do. And we're here sharing some time with a special guest, John Murphy, who happens to be a veteran of the Vietnam War and has been kind enough to be a special guest to talk a little bit about the Memorial Day, his experience when he came back home, what he went through, and more important, his thought process about the Memorial Day, how veterans are honored, how they should be honored, and how they came back home with certain amount of illness and stuff like that. We don't have words to thank him for being our special guest and to share his point of view as to how we feel and how we see things from his point of view. Well, we talked about in the first segment of the program all these things that we face when we see our men and women coming back from war. Let's talk a little bit about Vietnam. The Vietnam War was a war that, for some reason or another, America did not give the true respect to the Vietnam veteran when they first came home. Now they're giving them the respect a little bit late. What was your thought process when you came back from this war and saw all the madness that was taking place here in America, the hippie movement, young people doing drugs, and knowing that you had served your country valiantly and come home to see that type of behavior from our youngsters and not accepting those who went out and put their life on the line?
It was very depressing personally to me and to every Vietnam vet that came home, because we were basically shunned by our peers, our own peers, did not embrace us. There was very, very little recognition. When we did try to decompress and talk about it, we were shut down by our own peers. And then what was even more of pain and hurt was when a lot of us went back to like people like our father's age, the VFW, the American Legion, men that had already been to war. And we were kind of shunned by them too, because we were actually, at one time I was actually told, you're America's first generation to lose a war for America. We were a weak generation.
Wow.
And basically the Vietnam War was really given up by, the will of the people and by the government. Our own government sent us in there, but saw that, they decided in the middle of it, even though on the battlefield it was a victory, but we lost the war in morally in the press and just in support. It was just lack of support. And it was so traumatic for most of us that we didn't talk about Vietnam. It got to the point where I would not even speak about Vietnam. I was a combat wounded Vietnam vet, and in combat. And I worked, on Wall Street, and I was a closet Vietnam vet. Nobody knew I was a veteran. And not until 1985 did my peers know that I was a veteran. I actually walked in a parade in April of '85, and I had people that knew me for almost 13 years that didn't even know I was a veteran.
Wow.
And they came out of the crowd. Some of them said, "Hey, I didn't even know you were a vet." I was like, it wasn't until then that I felt comfortable enough to even
See who I was,
because I really felt like we were shunned and actually prejudiced against, you know. It was very hurtful.
It had to be very hurtful, and also it probably was one of the most embarrassing moments in American history that these men that went out and put their life on the line, okay, they didn't decide they wanted to go to Vietnam. They were told they had to go, and they went and they served bravely. They didn't run, they didn't hide, and to come back home and to be rejected, to come back home and to be treated in such a way like if you were a third or fourth class citizen. To me, it was a big embarrassment to America, the way how we treated the Vietnam veterans who came back home, who put their life on the line. I know for you it had to be devastating at the beginning when you first came back and saw this. How do you feel the acceptance has been now that we're into 2013?
Well, you know, after like, you know, people finally woke up in like in 1985 when we had a bunch of parades around the country, an acknowledgement of the sacrifice that was given to the Vietnam vet. Also, the Vietnam vet became a very active, proactive veteran group for themselves. They had to champion their own causes because the government wasn't supporting them, like, for example, Agent Orange. We ended up being poisoned by chemicals that, you know, residually have given us 9 types of cancers, wow, diabetes. There's so many health risks from just going to Vietnam. But one thing the Vietnam veteran, you know, the veterans should be really proud of is every other war after Vietnam, we did not allow, as we matured, we did not allow our country not to recognize people that went to war. And we made sure that Memorial Day was brought back up to the public consciousness. For example, the Gulf War, you know, the first Gulf War, we made sure we had a big parade for them as soon as they got off the planes. I remember stopping in an airport because there was a whole load of returning Gulf War veterans. And I was coming home from business and they were coming home from Iraq, and we just stood, we formed a big line, and I can remember standing there crying. And I remember seeing like an older sergeant that was in the group, and he was a Vietnam vet, and he did he did a tour there, and we both looked at each other and we were crying because we knew that what these guys were getting, and I was so proud to be part of, you know, the acknowledgement. And I made it a personal effort to raise awareness that you have to acknowledge anybody that serves. Even if they go for 3 days, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like they put their lives out on the line, and we got to acknowledge that. Freedom is not free. It comes at a very dear price.
I couldn't agree with you more. And more importantly, I think that Mr. Murphy just touched on a very interesting point. The shunment that the Vietnam veteran got, it's important to know that all Vietnam veterans linked together as a team. They continue that love and that brotherhood among themselves, okay? That this nation had no other choice but to recognize their strength, their ability, and their intestinal fortitude, and saw how they stayed together. And they begin to recognize them a little bit late, but they begin to recognize them, and they're deserving of that. Thanks to the Vietnam veterans, just as John Murphy just mentioned, those who went to war after has been recognized because of that great sacrifice and the fact that the Vietnam veterans stood up to the situation and made their cause aware. And I don't have words to thank anyone who has been a Vietnam veteran because they served proudly, and I'm very proud of them, and everyone in America should be. Let's talk a little bit about, as a young kid going on the battlefield, when you got out there, were you scared at the beginning?
Oh, of course. It's healthy to be terrified. I was terrified and scared. I was even afraid to step off my vehicle and walk from fear of stepping on a landmine or a booby trap. I mean, fear is healthy and it's normal. You know, if you're in an environment like that where people are trying to kill you, you have to become aware. And like sometimes, like, you know, that learning curve could actually cost you your life or the life of somebody else. It's, of course, war is like like anybody that actually said they enjoyed being in combat, for the thrill of it, is like, I'm kind of skeptical if they even serve, because it's normal to be afraid. It's just.
Well, not only being afraid, it all back. Also, I'm sure from time to time it brings back good memories and mostly bad memories. Seeing bodies, seeing lives all over the place.
Right. The camaraderie. I mean, I have like people that I served with, and I consider them my brothers. I speak to them all the time. I see them, and it's like we just love each other. And that's part of the war. And then there's the traumatic part of the war, where you know somebody, and then the next minute they're dead. And like, to me, Memorial Day is like one day holiday out of the year. But for me personally, Memorial Day is like, there's a song on the radio that reminds me of my friend, or somebody says something, and
Trigger that memory.
reminds me of a person I saw medically evacuated. I see a helicopter, and I remember seeing people dragged to the helicopter, and you never see them again, and like, but it's all individual. It's all based on personal experiences, and all I do is ask that people just educate yourself and learn, what it is to like participate, and just spend like a moment of silence on like Memorial Day. Veterans Day is for the living, for the veterans that have gone and come back, and that's what it should be. It's like, I'm not asking for everybody to like take it to the level that I have it on, but that's because of what effect it had on me personally.
Because you lived it.
Yeah.
And those strong words, we want to take this opportunity on behalf of the family of the Grapevine to say to Mr. John Murphy, thank you so much for imparting his thought process. Obviously, half an hour is not enough time to cover a program of this magnitude, talking about Memorial Day, talking about the battlefield, talking about the wounded, and what is needed to help them, and the recognition of them. We want to thank everyone who's watching this program, and we want to say to you, the American public out there, respect your veteran. Treat them with the respect that they deserve, and remember who they are and what they did for this nation. And again, this is Wallingford Lee saying good night for the Queen's Grapevine, and thank you for watching this program, and I hope it has been to your liking. Good night.